Hello and welcome to the 15th episode of Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem. I'm Silver. My co-host, as normal, is
Chaotic.
being an episode that starts or ends with a 5 in the fifth numeral. We have a special guest today. That special guest is Selene.
Hi, everyone.
And by chance, just like the last guest, we're also doing a creature. Actually, it's a goddess. The goddess Selene have the same name in common.
That's why I picked her.
You know much about the goddess Selene?
I know quite a bit. I've always been really into Greek mythology, which is how I actually ended up settling on my name when I picked it for myself. So I've always felt a connection to the actual goddess Selene. So I feel I know quite a bit.
Okay. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure.
Me and Chaotic.
Of course. So it's funny because people hear the name Selene and they actually don't know much about her. I feel that she's not really taught anymore. You know, when kids have world history and stuff and they do like the Greek section, they tend to know Artemis. Or if they go into Roman, they tend to know Diana. But Selene's kind of gets overshadowed. She is actually considered the moon incarnate. So she was actually the first goddess of the moon because she was a Titan. So a lot of people always look at me and they're always like, I don't actually know the goddess Selene. I was like, of course, she does get buried, but you know, she was the first one. And it's just like a lot of people don't know about Helios, who is her brother, who is actually the original god of the sun, who turns into Apollo. So people know Apollo and people know Artemis, but people don't know about Selene and Helios, who were the original Titan gods of these things. You know, it's funny that people don't know a lot about her because she is associated in quite a few myths with even like Zeus and Pan. She's also associated with Hecate, who is the triple moon. So you'll hear more about Hecate, you know, with either if people are pagan or if they're Wiccan, you hear about that. You hear about the lunar goddesses. But Selene was the first. So she was the first, and she is known for a lot of descriptions of her is she is a very gorgeous, beautiful goddess because it's beautiful to look at the moon. So of course they say she's beautiful. And she drives a chariot. It always varies by what her chariot is pulled by. Her chariot is sometimes pulled by winged horses, or there's sometimes oxes, donkeys, like that always changes up. But she's very much associated if she's in any of the temples. You can kind of tell who she is compared to Artemis. She's much more motherly looking. So she has like a rounder face. She has, she wears long robes. And then, of course, her diadem is a crescent moon. So that's how you know it is Selene and it's not Artemis or Diana, depending on the temple. It's funny because I will also see it's not just like Diana she's referred to. She's also referred to as Luna because that also did change. Go ahead.
Isn't Artemis's Roman counterpart Diana, and then Luna is Selene's?
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
it kind of switches up. But yeah, her Roman equivalent is technically Luna, but then she's called Selene. It's, like I said, for her, she gets a lot of, I guess, almost mix-ups.
Lots of moons.
She gets a lot of moons. She gets a lot of faces, essentially, the faces of the moon. But she is referred to as Luna. But even that name Luna, you don't see it used as often. Because even that name gets lost because Luna gets buried by Diana. So like I said, I always find it interesting that people are like, oh, Selene, I don't know. And I'm like, she's so interesting. I was like, because she was the moon personified. She is a Titan. And then her parents are Hyperion and Thea. So, you know, some of the first Titans. But yeah, that's a lot of what I know. I don't know too many of the myths. I know her husband's myth. So with the shepherd Endymion.
Yeah, that's the myth that I've seen the most of coming.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different varieties of that one.
Yeah, because he's either a shepherd, he's a beautiful shepherd is what they say, or he's a king. And so there's different versions of like where he actually came from. You know, the one with the shepherd is he chose, but Zeus gave him immortality, but his immortality had a stipulation. He had to sleep forever, so Selene could only be with him at night. And then the other is he was a king. I don't know that one as much. He was a king, and then Zeus told him when he would die, and from that he had like 3 sons, and they had a race. And I can't remember more of that one because that one's not as interesting to me. I'm like, well, I like the shepherd one. I think that one's a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, the shepherd one was pretty much like you said. Zeus gave him the immortality with the stipulation of having to stay asleep, be immortal. I seen that as the story went, Selene kept passing over the shepherd because the shepherd kept sleeping underneath the stars every night. So Selene would see him sleeping and go down and leave her post, either passing the moon off to her brother Helios sometimes, or just leaving it go dark. And that's how Zeus caught on that she was not going across the sky every night. Because Helios would either go slower or the night would just be completely dark and just causing chaos among the humans. And that's when Zeus met up with them about the giving immortality or death, pretty much.
I mean, it's all for the booty call. So, I mean, it's immortality, sleeping, or death because, you made the goddess of the moon fall in love with you and she's not doing her job because she's making calls to your field.
Seen that where he got put to sleep for his immortality was like this cave or temple, and that's where Selene went during the daytime to spend with him while he was asleep. And it was varied that Endymion and her, they either had 50 kids while he was awake or 50 kids while he was asleep.
Yeah, they have like 50 daughters or something.
Yeah, she does have children with Zeus as well. See.
Yes, and Pan.
Yes,
yeah.
So
I was like, my Titan goddess just making all those babies.
She doesn't have to worry about Endymion going anywhere.
Truth. When your man's asleep, you don't have to worry about him going anywhere.
Imagine that's just like the solve to everything. Just once they're asleep, you don't got to worry about shit. They're fine. They sleep the entire time.
Exactly. That's all you need. My man's asleep. We're good. I'm going to go have these kids, but I'm also going to go have kids with this other guy. We're fine.
Then one of her daughters was named Pandia, which I think is where Pandemania comes from. No, am I wrong? Or is she just a lesser? I know she's
Pandia is called Pandia means all brightness. So
she might be part moon goddess as well, then related to maybe the full moon.
It's a lot of moon goddesses.
She's personified with the full moon. So from what I'm looking at, because gotta love the internet. So the reason why is they connected the full moon with her to connect her with Zeus. So in Athens, they had a festival called Pandia after the daughter, but it was held more for Zeus, and it was celebrated on the full moon for that.
Held more for Zeus. That sounds about right.
Yep.
Zeus's ego. Yeah. He probably started this festival.
Probably. He was like, "Yeah, you can name it. You can name it Pandia, but it's fine. You're going to worship me in the end."
One account I seen, one of Endymion and Selene's sons was Narcissus.
Narcissus?
I love Narcissus. I did read that when I did my little bit of research.
Which I think that's where Narcissus comes from.
It is literally because that's all he did was look at himself in the mirror because he was so pretty. Because both his parents were, of course, beautiful. Because Endymion was supposed to be beautiful, and
isn't it his myth that he drowned because he was trying to get to his reflection?
Sounds about right for a Narcissus, but I'm not sure. Some more of her children were also, I think it might have been with Pan, but they were 4 dryads that she had that were the embodiment of the seasons. I only heard that one area and I didn't write down their names.
It's funny because he seduced her with a bribe. So
sounds about right for Zeus.
I don't know for Pan.
Oh yeah, with the
it's called right? the snowy bribe of wool. Is what he got her with. I'm trying to see because they don't really.
He gave her
directly name her daughters with him, which is interesting. They don't name their kids very, very quickly, which I find interesting. But they'll name everybody else's kids. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's just Pan. And I'm like, God of the Wild, okay. Sure.
And
Let's
got a
just
bad
forget
rap.
about him.
They might have deserved it too, but all the gods in Greek kind of deserve a little bit what they get.
Just a tad.
But yeah, I don't see too much. I know, like, she did have a slight cult,
Yes, I did see that.
We like cults. We like that.
but it was more, it's probably, let me see if it was in Crete, which is interesting because Crete had a lot of cults for some reason. I'm like, y'all need to stop.
Well, when in Crete, it's kind of like Vegas, but Crete, you just join a
Yeah.
cult for
I just joined a cult. Because I went to,
kind of like Twitch.
yeah, I went to the museum around here where I live, and they were having part of it did have Greek, and it was like showing some of the cults that happened, and not just Greek. It was like Egyptian. It was like the cults that were going on during I wouldn't say, I'm trying to remember what religion was rising. I think it was during the rise of like when Christianity was starting to poke its head out, and it's fascinating. You're just like, what? What is going on? But yeah, she had a cult in Crete. They found a lot of moon figures, rings, gems, indicating a moon cult.
Yeah.
And then they say like she was important in love magic for that. And I guess full moon, pregnancy, that kind of like correlates with that. So the phases of the moon trying to get pregnant, which I always find interesting. I'm like, okay. And they call it moon time for a reason.
This is kind of with the cult, kind of a little off track with the phases of the moon. The moon was thought to influence people in other ways as well. Lunacy takes its name from Selene's Roman counterpart Luna, that I found. Certain types of insanity were said to be brought on by the moon's influence phases, and it was believed that Selene had the power to create lunacy with purpose. This aspect she was closely associated with Dionysus. His rites also brought a form of madness about in his followers, while the Mayans of Dionysus were driven mad by the frenzy of their worship. However, the madness brought about by Selene could be used as a targeted punishment. Just goes on as that Dionysia, Selene promises the gods that she will work with him to punish his enemies with fits of insanity.
I mean, why not? She probably got some wine out of it.
Oh yeah,
Good wine. Why not?
Souls for wine.
Exactly.
a little bit of partying, a little bit of insanity.
But it's funny because they associate that, and then she's associated with childbirth, which I understand. Childbirth is insane. But there's a lot of beliefs back then. If you had, gave birth during a full moon, Selene would bless you, and you would have an easier childbirth, and you would also live through it.
That would be a plus.
Yeah. So she was also, she was connected. Even Luna, and her, the Roman counterpart, was associated with childbirth. So she was associated with that, and they kind of like, it's funny because they like mix their gods when you're looking at stuff, and like how researchers have looked at it, and they're like, well, she was this, but then, when they were worshiping her in like, let's say Attica, they mixed her up with Aphrodite.
That's
that's
like,
never a good thing to do.
Yeah, it says, because in Athens, they would do wineless offerings to Selene along with other celestial gods like her siblings and Aphrodite. And then in Attica, it seems that Selene was identified with Aphrodite. I'm just like, pick one, guys. Where is she going? But she seems to be everywhere. So the moon is just everywhere. And that, like I said, that's why I'm always surprised when people are like, I don't know who she is. I'm like, really? Because the moon is in so many things, and especially any Greek or Roman mythology, and that she just gets lost, and I get really sad about it, and that's why I get upset. I'm like, no, she's awesome, and she was very powerful. So even Zeus kind of like stepped aside to her sometimes. So it's like, and then had kids with her.
Zeus has kids with everybody though, so yeah, it's surprising that she gets lost with all the other gods of the pantheon for being a titan and all, one of the oldest goddesses. There's also just so many other deities linked to the moon. It's kind of hard to remember that she is the OG original moon goddess, that she is actually the moon, not just a goddess of the moon.
Yeah, that's what I say. I'm like,
people forget about Titans a lot.
They really do. And even like I said, her brother Helios is sometimes forgotten because people know about Apollo.
Did you remember she has a third brother or second brother?
I do
Eos.
remember.
I found a little thing that her father was the Titan god of heavenly light, while her mother represented the blue color of the sky. Together, they fittingly created three sources of celestial illumination. Oh, it's a daughter. That's my bad. Their daughter Eos was the first to appear each day. She was the goddess of the dawn and brought new light to the world every morning.
Okay.
Eos represented the warm light that could be seen coming up above the horizon before the sun appears in full. She announced the coming of her younger brother, Helios, the son of Hyperion, the second child. He was the god of the sun who drove across the sky each day in golden chariot drawn by a team of golden horses. At night he drove below the edge of the world in the west, circling below Gaia, who is his grandma, to reappear to the eastern horizon by the morning. Selene appeared when he went down as the youngest of the three. She had, like you say, the oxen, the donkeys, the white horses, and the silver carriage. She brought with her the moon.
What's funny is like her, personification of the dawn, which is her sister. She, like, I found her, but she's not mentioned as much, and I was like, oof, you got overshadowed by the other two siblings a little bit.
What about Dusk? Did they just completely forget about Dusk? Or does she probably comes around and she's probably Dawn and Dusk? Maybe I didn't look too much into her. Yes.
I don't think there was a Dusk one because it's just the three children, and they were supposed to be dawn, daytime, and nighttime. So I guess they just didn't. They didn't make a fourth child. Unacceptable. Yeah. We're not going to accept this.
The Greeks just didn't believe in dusk. It was either just daylight or it was dark. And you could see her.
There was no sunset. None. Yeah. There was no sunset. Well, because, I guess they did it because that's Helios going down. So there was really nothing. Because you don't see the sun really at day when daybreak is. Yeah, you don't see the sun right away. You just see the world light up. While with the sunset, you literally watch the sun go down.
Yeah.
And it becomes night. So maybe that's why. That's probably why. I'm going to say that's why. Just going to put that down. That's my facts.
That sounds good to me, too.
Facts by Selene. I'm named for a goddess, so I must be right.
TM stamped. Amen.
Oh,
yeah, you need a stamp now. You got to get that made, so you can put it on everything. Made by Selene. Named by Selene.
Named by Selene.
Made by Selene. Just slap that on Lucas. Just pop.
Copy paste. That's what I did.
We finally got to see him the other day, and I was like, okay, literally.
Yeah, I did. I definitely copied and pasted. Just like the gods did, they copied and pasted their children. Because a lot of them, they'd be like, I was born from a thought.
I feel like that's
Zeus was like,
yeah.
No, and Zeus literally just like flicks things places and is like, look, children. So,
He picks his fucking nose and he flicks in. That booger becomes a god. You know what I mean?
No kidding.
That's a god right there. The god of seaweed. It's like,
don't talk about Poseidon like that.
No, that's a seaweed brain. That's different. But yeah, so it's just like it's interesting when you see and just read and you start delve into it a little bit more, and then you see all the conflicts between stuff. Like even in the Greeks, like their stories, they conflict so much. Like with Endymion, he's got like 2 to 3 different stories of like who he actually was.
Right.
And then even with Selene, she jumps around with what pulled her carriage,
right?
Or
exactly.
what she was dressed in, and I'm like, and I understand because they didn't have ways of writing stuff down. It was all told by word of mouth,
right? And obviously with telephone, we know everything changes, but
yeah, telephone is.
But it also
the way things go.
It also serves to believe, like, was it just straight up gossip between the gods? Like, because obviously, if you go and talk to Zeus, his story is gonna be way different in comparison to the person he attacked or like did things to or like had the kid with. So like at this time and age, was it just everybody gossiping and talking shit and then the story just changes? Or was it like a word of mouth telephone thing where the story was just changed down between people?
Could have been like different storytellers trying to spice it up, or forgetting part of the story. Someone, some storyteller bumped their head, they forgot half the story and had to make it up on the spot, and then that continues. But that's the game of telephone. That's what happens.
For sure. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting with this whole Titan thing, because like a lot of people, like I know that he's more well known, but Kratos is people forget about him. People forget that he's like the big boy before Zeus was even a thought.
Which is hilarious because of you lose the entire legends of so much stuff that happened. The dark times and stuff like that, where Titans were booming everywhere because there was no gods to keep them in check, because they were in someone's stomach. And like I said, it's very interesting that people, like, when I understand they're teaching it in school and they only can teach so much, but I'm like, so teach the beginning. Don't start in the middle, and because they'll teach all about, Zeus and Athena and Apollo and Artemis and a little bit about Hera, Ares. But then they don't talk about like the gods that started, the Titans that started before them. So, like I said, Selene is the moon, and she was supposed to drive with the moon and stuff like that. But then it becomes Artemis doing that. I mean, I understand retiring, but she's supposed to be the personification. But then you make up another goddess, and I'm like, it's always curious. I'm like, did they retire? Is that what happened? They were like, I've put in my time. I've hit, 65,000 years doing this. I'm now 65,000 years old. I got to put in my retirement fund, cash in my 401k. Like, is that what happened? Because they don't explain that. They don't explain that because we don't have the stories. They're not written down. And I think that upsets me too, because we don't know how these stories were really told. We know what they've found. But also the game of telephone over thousands of years. That game of telephone's still going on.
Keeps on changing and evolving as time goes on.
It keeps evolving. I mean, they keep finding new stuff too, because they're, digging stuff out of the ocean. And because, apparently some of these cities like just went underwater over there. So they're like finding whole cities in the water. Yeah. So I would love to know. It's one of those things where you wish you could go into the past and sit down and actually listen. Like, I would love to sit down and hear the original story of Selene that they told. What was it really? Not this, what they may have found on tablets or in the temples. And
I feel like it'd probably still be very varied because of the distance between the major cities. Yeah. And the actual ability, the word of mouth plus the literacy, or it'd still be varied. I'm not sure how well.
Go to Athens, find out what they're saying. Maybe go to Crete, join a cult for the moon goddess herself.
Join a cult, on vacation.
On vacation, join a cult. And you see some of the stuff, though, isn't even from ancient Greece. When you start, like, rabbit holing sometimes into this stuff, you'll find out that it's like, there'll be like 7th and 6th century BC poet mentioned these gods. And I'm like, is that where the telephone started being written down? When they finally they had more written word. I mean, the Greeks did have a written word, but it doesn't mean everybody could do it.
Yeah. So those who could write can write the history down.
But we lost so much of that.
Oh yeah. I think that's just
with a certain Alexandria library going up in flames. So
yeah, I think that was a big one.
Well, that's where like so many records were for all those areas. So I guarantee those stories were written down. I bet you there was, scrolls and stuff, and just tinder. So
paper is very flammable.
Fires happened back then so easily because that's all they had was, the oil lamps.
Yeah.
And those weren't very secure, so.
Hence London's giant fire that burned it down.
Yeah.
Okay, we should still be able to do mayhem, I imagine, with the goddesses and gods. Never really.
Always.
Technically, this is our first goddess. Rusalka was kind of one. Then she became a monster. So shall we go on with the mayhem?
I was about to say it's sitting right here. I am the mayhem. I am the chaos. I'm just kidding. I can't do that much. Chaotic definitely is more chaotic than I am.
With Selene's powers, over the moon. I think she'd be able to cause quite a bit if she just came down to Earth as the moon. I think she would flood a lot of cities.
Bro, stuff's already gonna go under. It's already going to, like, Florida gone.
Florida's
Not that
gone.
way.
Venice is gone. California's gone.
Bro, she would barely have to blink an eyelash towards Venice and it'd be gone. She'd be like, blink. Her eyelash would get too close. Venice would be gone.
She just disappears. All the water recedes back down to. I'm not even sure what base level water would be.
Who knows? Because, like I said, so many things are underwater already. So
Yeah.
who knows? Like what the land structure was. But definitely, she would take out Florida. She'd take out Venice. She'd flood Egypt.
That's true because the Nile
Would,
right there.
The Nile's right there, so the Nile would cover a lot of Egypt. Because I mean, they had their floods too, so and that's where it came from was the Nile.
Yeah.
We would lose Jersey.
I guess that's technically a loss.
Not the Jersey side.
Jersey. I was like, I'm originally from there. It'd definitely be underwater real quick. I'm trying to think where else. You'd have quite a bit of Virginia and Maryland under. If I'm...
I don't think Hawaii will last very long unless you keep climbing the mountain. Volcano. Even then, it starts to get a little warm towards the lava. Even with the water going in and out, with her moving willy-nilly to find her husband probably still, she has the power to inspire lunacy on them. I mean, this world's already kind of crazy.
I was about to say it wouldn't take much.
But like, so have we like, would she do these things though?
She likes
unless someone pissed her off, which...
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like she's pretty docile. I feel like it's like if you kick the nest, maybe. But I feel like she'd just vibe and maybe even try and this is just a me being biased because I love her and her name and what she stands for. But I also feel like she'd kind of like try and help maybe some of the world that's, doing things like people that have been hit by tsunamis and get flooded and like the power she can help with, maybe retracting some of that with the moon and stuff. I feel like she'd be helpful.
Yeah, she probably could be. And people go up to her and plant flags in her.
I'm sorry, what?
They're staking their claim on the moon, man. The U.S. would be up there, just right there in that forehead.
Right up her butt.
You said it.
Different areas.
Full moon right there.
Full moon pop right
Full moon,
in the
pop.
butt.
I mean, she's probably voluptuous, that full moon. So it's like right there. I mean, I think her lunacy though from the Roman was just she didn't cast it on people. I think it's like being in her presence could cause it too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Would cause
right, like
that.
for too long kind of thing.
Well, I mean, it's just like Dionysus.
True.
But I think that's what could cause it too is the loony bin. I think she would do it like without meaning to. But also, it's like, how would we treat her? We wouldn't treat her well because people are like, no. Although with the generation now, they might be like, please help us.
Wait, I see.
Please get us out of here.
I seen remembered when I was doing research, and I do audio research just because that's an easier medium for me to absorb. I was listening to a podcast about Selene, and every time, like 90% of the podcasts about her involve her with the Wiccan and witchcraft community. She's a big deity with them.
Yeah, she is my deity. So, and that community has just grown and grown and grown simply because, like with the old gods and stuff like that, people are finding that they actually answer and they listen. And it's one of those things where I'm like, it's because nobody's heard them for so long. No one has reached out a hand and said hello. And like I said, that's one of the reasons I picked my name is because I have such a connection with her. And I've always felt at peace. Like I said, even though they say, where lunacy comes from, I've always felt at peace. I've always felt a motherly light, which is what she's associated with. She's associated with childbirth and helping moms. with that. And
Very neat, right?
mhm. So it can go either way. Like I said, with the chaotic bit of her coming here, she would be very welcomed by the community. They'd be like, "Where are the rest of them?" They'd be like, "Help!
Yeah.
Bring all of them."
But on another standpoint of mayhem, would humans just try and snatch and study and ruin it like always?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. And I think that's what would set her off is, you know, because humans would want to, they have to touch it. They have to touch the butt. And I'm like, stop it. Just let it be. And I don't, that's what you'd have. You'd have governments fighting to get their hands on her because they'd want to know, okay, where's the immortality come from? Where's the god power come from? Are you really a god? You know what I mean? You'd have, unfortunately, you would have the people who have other beliefs, who don't believe in multiple gods, who would try and turn her in because they'd be like, this isn't real.
Anything to add, Chaotic?
I don't know a whole lot about Selene, so I was more so listening and learning today. But I just really enjoy that it's like our first goddess, because like Greek gods and goddesses and stuff like that, Titans, that's like one of my favorite things to talk about. And I didn't know about Selene, so that tells you a lot, that, you know, people just like overpass her and don't talk about her. And I just thought it was really neat to learn about, and the fact that Selene knew about it, and I'm, you know, illiterate here with the Greeks. So it was neat to know that Selene knew about it.
That's why I said she gets overshadowed by Artemis, because Artemis started driving the chariot with the moon. So you hear people that they don't know about Selene, who is supposed to be the moon personified. Well, Artemis is not necessarily the moon personified. She is just the goddess of the moon who drives the chariot and brings it into the sky. So, and is the huntress. So yeah, I'm glad I could bring that love for my name and shed some light so people could remember the Titans. I believe that's a movie.
I think it is as well.
But yeah, people need to remember the Titans. So I am always here to talk about goddesses and always help out.
We appreciate having you on today.
Thanks for having me. I love being here.
If anybody wants to find you anywhere, I don't know, do you stream?
I mean, not at the moment. I do every other Tuesday. I do stream with Chaotic for our Treacherous Tuesdays.
Yeah.
I go by Selene_Laufeyson. And the reason for the Laufeyson is my wife's name is Loki. So maybe you'll have me back for us to talk about that beautiful trickster god.
Yeah, we should have you and Loki come talk for the Loki one.
We could do that. And we would love to do that. Because Loki is also one of my patron gods. Because he made himself known real quick. And I was like, okay. Because he sends spiders. And I'm terrified of spiders. But we'll talk more about that on that podcast. Because this is supposed to be about me. It's about me. Okay.
It's about me. It's my show.
This is my show. But yes, thank you for having me. I don't have a regular streaming schedule, like I was saying, just because I'm waiting to get like a streaming computer. I stream off of a laptop and it can't handle that stuff. So once I have a real good computer, I'll have a much more steady schedule. And I mean, they can find me there. They can find me at Catarata, which is my cosplay name. That is Catarota, because people want to spell it with a K. But they can see me there, because a lot of people actually do recognize my cosplays. So you can see me as Princess Serenity, the Princess of the Moon, a lot on there. So
is that on Instagram?
Instagram, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look it up and follow you, because I don't believe I am yet.
You will be mind blown.
Thanks.
You can always jump into Discord, and leave Selene, you're in our Discord as well. If anybody's wanting to jump in and talk there, our link for Discord will be down below in the audio description, where I put the description stuff.
Where the description things go, the description miscellaneous.
And I also
subscribers.
Yes. I'll put your link for your Instagram. I forgot the word Instagram page in the description as well. So
and Twitch.
And Twitch.
Because we always need more sus among us.
We do. We do need more sussy bakas. So Come at it.
I think that's probably going to be all for today's episode.
Goodbye, everyone.
Gonna roll us out, Chaotic.
Yes.
As
Yes.
the
Hang
moon
on.
goes across the sky.
Very dramatic. It's not going to be that cool, but hang on.
Yeah, I can drive a sleigh pulled with oxen.
Join us again next Monday on Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem, found on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. Silver and Chaotic talk about how monsters and myths came to be and how they would be received in modern-day society. Follow, like, and subscribe to support. Also find the podcast on Twitter and Discord with the links below to keep up to date with the newest merchant activity. Besides, who knows what mayhem we will get into next.